the rule is, if I have an idea that could turn into a product or the next thing that I'm, supposedly building, skill most people don't think about is a secret entrepreneurial skill. And that is, besides all the hard skills and the soft skills out there, the skill to quickly arrive at clarity.
To another exciting episode of Founders Across Borders, wherein we know that ideas travel fast and people have always been built so differently. They learn differently, they speak differently, and that is why it is exciting to know about stories that shape the journey of something so massive and so impactful. And to actually acknowledge that, I have been joined by Alex. Alex, it's a pleasure to have you over here. He has been into management consulting for more than a decade, right now building his own venture, Stage Hero, helping people become the best public speakers and own the stage. And he's been a 3 times best-selling author as well. I'm so excited to record this with you, and thank you so much for joining me, Alex, for this.
Thanks so much, Yukta. I'm excited to be here and for your questions, of course.
That's actually interesting. I would love to know, how did you actually start building Stage Hero and make that as a place for helping people own the stage?
Yeah, phenomenal question. So I've been in venture building a whole lot. I've dabbled around a lot of business ideas and business formats and business models in my 20s, from a travel company to a retreat company to an Amazon FBA to a consulting company. So I dabbled in a lot of space, and I think the 20s are really the time to do that, right? If you do want to do your own thing, for anybody out there who's doing their own thing. And in that time, I spent a lot of time on stages. And there's two major things that happened for me. One, I only want to build things that I've done myself, right? Especially in the space of coaching consulting, right? And the other thing is, I've just learned the power of it. I think most people in the professional field who are building a personal brand would agree that being on a stage, seen by others, dropping insights is a power tool, right?
Yeah.
It builds authority and it connects you. It builds trust. Trust is the one thing that everybody needs in order to sell, right? Whether it's to sell your idea, your vision, your product, your service, you need trust, and authority is really a fast way there. And I believe that the stage effect, which is people seeing you say something important on stage, that's a power tool. That's a gem, a magic nugget that can get you very far. So anyways, I noticed that for myself. Before really diving into that, I was really struggling with how I present myself, how I become heard. After, I had all these people reach out to me, so I realized there's a power in it. So now what I do is I teach this to people, especially professionals, consultants, coaches, and founders, and really elevate them in their career. So this is how I came around to do it. It's a long journey. There's so many details, but this is the fairly short version of it.
That's quite interesting to know, that I think building anything is so much about when you have your own pain and you identify that. And once you have identified that, okay, this is the main like problem for me and this is the solution, and now you're at level 4, level 5, and then you take the other people through that process, is because you've cracked that code. And while you're bringing them to level 5, you've been at level 8, level 9, level 10. So you're scaling, you're growing, and at the same point in time you're helping people at least come to the level that you were once at.
Yes. It's like mentorship, really, right? You want to look for someone a couple years ahead of you. I always use this example, right? Do you want to be trained if you want to improve your body, right? You want to go to the gym. Let's say you really want to work out. Do you want to be trained by Arnold Schwarzenegger? Or do you want to be trained by someone who has your body type, but mastered to break through your goal, your body shape goal or your fitness goal in the last
Yeah.
couple of years? Well, the answer most likely is you want the second person, right? Because you're not
Right.
relating. Arnold is the big guy in fitness, or maybe he was, I don't know. But he's not relatable. He probably can't coach you, besides the fact that, he's far away from where you probably want to be. So I always see it like that, like you explained.
That's connecting the dots as well, and that's how you find the right mentors. And how did you actually figure this out that you want to go from being a management consultant, who's like in big fours or big threes, and then actually shift to mentoring people, founders, own, figure out their story? Because it takes so much time for you to nail your story, know that, okay, this is the kind of people I want to help, and I want to make this switch. Like, of course, you're an advisor right now, you do consult people, but you still made that switch. And how was it? Was it difficult? Was it like life changing decision, or like when you were like in that phase of being like, yeah, I want to do this?
Yeah. It is an interesting question because it can be attacked in multiple angles. One thing I want to say is I wasn't in a big four at all. I have my own management consulting firm, right? It's a small shop, and I've been consulting companies, Fortune 500 companies, but project based. And so for the longest time, I was doing it because this was a requested service. I was speaking from the stage because it was part of the product that I was selling, right? So a firm, big firm would hire me to give a workshop, but before the workshop, there would usually be a keynote, right? Or a big conference would hire me to speak at the conference in order to give insights to the audience, right? So it's along my career, it's always been a product. And it started by somebody seeing me on stage, small stage, really basic. I was helping out a friend with a kind of like a mini workshop keynote. And they saw more than I saw, right? I didn't see this as a trajectory, but they were like,
Right.
hey, can you actually take this and bring it to this other team of ours, right? This was at Philips in Eindhoven many years ago. And so they realized it, and they nudged me to get deeper into it, right? And then it became a product, etc. How did the switch happen? The switch was fluid because I realized the power of the authority you gain in the stage effect, right? And most people who've been on one or two stages will confirm this. Most people who are regularly doing stages, they know this, they've internalized it, and they know the power of it, the sales power, the branding power of it. But the transition was fluid, just like the first person seeing me on a stage and asking for this service to be, provided to their team. Somebody along the way asked me if I can coach them. And so I did. And the next person asked, and there was some referrals, and, one thing led to another until I realized, look, this can be productized. A lot of people want this. And to make it a roadmap, to make it a system is going to up the quality of it, rather than to
Right.
just coach people with individual insights or individual let's say coaching sessions. And this is when it became fluid and then picked up and then turned into a company, and now is a whole system. So this is the answer of the switch. There was no major switch. It just turned into something.
I totally love how you mentioned it's like something so natural and it just happened and it was like flowing. It's because sometimes when you like feel that you gotta make a pause, think, and feel like you have two divergent roads, and it's like a fork-paced decision, and you gotta choose one, and that pick and choose becomes difficult in the beginning, and then you're like, okay, let's take that. How have you dealt with these situations wherein there were like two pathways, and it was like a diverging space? You gotta choose one, or you gotta choose the other one. So
Hmm.
how do you make that pivot, or how do you make that decision for yourself or your firm?
Again, powerful question, attackable in many directions. I feel there's one aspect that goes, one side of me wants to answer it in kind of like a more life perspective. How do I choose changes in life? Another one is the product perspective, right? For professionals or for people in my position, consultants, how do you decide whether a new product in your portfolio or a new service in your portfolio is viable, is doable, is a smart decision, right? Because you invest resources into it.
Of course.
Attacking the first one, I think intuition is such a powerful human skill, and I had to learn it manually, right? Manually, what do I mean by that? I'm a head person. I'm a left brain person. I grew up that way. It's just the stronger side of my brain and being, I think. However, there's so much power in intuition, so much power in leaning and surrendering to the messages that come from who knows where, more than we would like to give it credit often, because we want the KPIs, we want we want to already see in our brain measurable what's going to be the end result, but often that's not possible, right? So intuition is a big one for life decision, especially, right? Partner, career change, moving places, where should I move? And so it's maybe unsatisfactory to a lot of the left brain people out there, but I'm sure most of us have made intuitive decisions and not regretted them. I certainly can say that that's the case for me. The more I lean into it and put the partner intuition to my left brain, decisiveness or decision capabilities, the better I do. Now, moving on to the other one, when do you know how to switch or add, switch careers, add a product? I think this is much more a left brain thing. I feel it has to do with trends. It has to do with really understanding your audience needs, right? If you can't get to a message where your audience feels he gets me, she gets me, then you have work to do. So a positioning question comes right at the start of product launching or of career pivoting, right? This is a powerful one because we always have ideas, especially founders, creators. We always have ideas of what we can add to the world to make it better, right? But that doesn't mean it's marketable. That doesn't mean the market really thinks we might be really enthusiastic. So I have this rule actually for myself, because I come up with a lot of ideas, and that's cool. That's right. That's really fun.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
But it's a trap as well, because I said in my 20s I was exploring a lot. My 30s are my focus time, and every minute you spend on one thing, can bring you interest, compound interest, right? Skill interest, revenue interest. It just builds and builds and builds. Every moment you're away from that focus,
right,
this is opportunity cost. This is distraction. If you could build this compound interest, right? So I have this rule for myself, and the rule is, if I have an idea that could turn into a product or the next thing that I'm supposedly building, I give it 30 days. If I still love it, if I still want to pursue it in 30 days, then I start finding resources, right? Then I start creating an MVP, asking for, potential team members, bringing something to the market, right? But I need to give myself, for anybody out there listening to this, who's creating a lot of ideas and then finding themselves juggling all these distracting things, this is for you, right? Try this out, 30 days, and then evaluate, see if it still sticks, if it's still a portfolio essential.
And that is something to absolutely ponder or think in depth, because it's more like shiny object syndrome. So, oh, you find this something that's beautiful or that's exciting, a new business model, you want to try that out, and then something pops up and then something doesn't pop. Like, I was having this discussion with my friend, and we stayed the entire night just talking about all of these things. He's building his own startup in cybersecurity, and he said that I have some great friends. Each one of you wants to build something for yourself. So I cannot even ask you that you want to join me or can I get you on board. It is because each one of you wants to have something of themselves, like, and it's so much about ideas. And we figured out, okay, that positioning is so important. Like, you choose a product, you choose a niche, for some time you got to stick to it. I mean, of course you can pivot when you feel that the market's failing and there's no response or there's no revenue, but then it's that stage of clarity. Like, a lot of people I see do not talk about it, but based on this conversation I can figure this out, that positioning and clarity are the two fundamental aspects of anyone who wants to maybe launch a program, product, or service. And if you do not have both of these things right, like the reputation that you thought you would be having, you won't be even in that race to build that. So how did you figure that out, that this is the thing that I want to do, this is what I want to study? And of course, these are 3 or 4 big decisions of one's life that shape them onto something else or their own career path. So how was that stage of like clarity figure that, okay, this is what I genuinely want to do, and this is like, maybe you're passionate about it, or it just
Hmm.
strings that little heart wire, like, yeah, this is my heart and this is what I want to do.
That skill you mentioned, that hidden skill most people don't think about, is a secret entrepreneurial skill, and that is, besides all the hard skills and the soft skills out there, the skill to quickly arrive at clarity, to sort out the noise from the value. That's something you build over time. I would argue, and this is me feeding into my intuition because I don't know any better. This is something you'll build over time by making mistakes, by running in the wrong direction, by getting it right sometimes, right? So that skill is power. And with all the social media that we see, we always being told, you got to figure it out so early on, better today than tomorrow. No, rub and get the friction into your life, and this is part of the journey, and this is part of the building the skill. You can't shortcut that, right? The only way I know to quasi shortcut it is to put more, like to move faster, right? To put more yeses into any given time frame, right? To just want it a lot and work like just put in so much effort. One of the things, to answer your question, that I do is a constant self-reflection. It's a system for actually connecting with yourself, right? To check in with yourself and see, is this the life I want? Is this the balance of things I want? This is my own system. I call it meeting with me. I used to be very dysregulated, and I was after the shiny object syndrome. I was dysregulated without approval, right? I was in this fast, distracted mode, which is fine. I have no problem with that now because I know it built some of the me that I am now, and it gave me all the mistakes. And so don't beat yourself up. But you need a system to check in with yourself and see if the things that you're doing are what you want to do, right? And there's numbers and KPIs that can tell you that, right? Is it viable? Does it make sense? Is it, does it give me the revenue I want, whatever? But much more is also the question of, am I happy doing this for another 10 years, right? Or 5, minimum 5, right? Because again, compound interest, you're investing. And the way I do it, meeting with me, is so simple, right? I've been doing it now for almost 8 years. Every Monday morning, I sit down with a physical journal. It sits right here. Always looks like this. I have a double page open, and I give myself about 45 minutes with this journal. It's a meeting with me. It's the first meeting in the week. Nobody else gets it except me. And it tells me and everyone else something about my priorities, right? I'm investing in my path. I'm reflecting whether what happened last week is relevant, is desirable, is power, is making me feel alive, right? And there's a lot of aspects to it, but in short, it has a business aspect, it has a personal aspect, but it's basically a 360 reflection. Call it journaling, whatever you want. And by the time I get out of it, I feel amazing. And I know next week I'm going to do another check-in. And I was just in Paris, and there's another exciting aspect to it. I go back to the old entries and I see, whoa, I did one in Paris in this beautiful park, and it gave me that feeling. And then I did one actually on a plane the other day, and it gives me a different feeling, but it's a priority. I haven't missed a single one in almost 8 years. So that system gets me to understanding better what I want, right?
Yeah, it actually makes a lot of sense. And I think you mentioned the most important aspect of this self-reflection. We want to hustle so bad that sometimes we just forget to sit and think about, okay, this is what actually I learned. For example, when I used to go on these partnership calls and speak with employers and speak with ideal people, or brainstorming calls, and there were times when I didn't used to give myself that break. And then I was like, okay, this is the retention rate or the reflection rate. But then I started giving like 10 to 15-minute pauses, like, okay, the call is wrapped up. These are my notes. This is what I'm thinking about. And this is what maybe I should have spoken differently, or maybe I could have addressed this question or this suggestion in a different way. For the next call, I'm more prepared. Now I know that this is something I want to talk about, or this is the way I can refine. And that is why it's so important, as you mentioned, to take a pause, just sit with yourself and be in that me zone, that it's
Right.
just my conversation with myself.
It's like shortening the feedback loops, right? Most people, and this is also great, most people reflect once a year at New Year's, right? And they
Yeah.
go, how was this year? What one word do I give my next year? The typical things.
Yeah.
I've been doing them. But if you shorten the feedback loops, you're going to get faster and most likely better results. This is what you're saying, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that's so important. And coming to understand, what, like you've been talking about so many different topics, and of course the year for like the way you've positioned yourself. So if you had to talk about three key areas that anyone wants to think of positioning themselves, since you talk about it on different stages and help people with it, how can someone position themselves, whether they're a founder or they're a creator, let's say, and they're like figuring that out, but they're executing, but they're not getting results. So what is the ideal process of positioning?
The ideal process of positioning. Let me just be clear and I understand the question correctly. So this is for personal brands, or this is for
Yes,
brands, for personal brands.
personal brands.
You're asking for a system of how to approach personal branding to arrive at a positioning that resonates with an audience.
Right.
All right. So the first thing you can't miss is what's the audience pain, right? Your audience's pain. And I'm saying it like this because what do people buy, right? Whether they give you money or whether they give you attention. What do people pay attention to? What do people pay money for? It's a solution to a problem that's in their way, right? That disrupts their life, that makes their commute take longer, that makes their relationship break, that makes all these things that they don't want, right? So yes, it's nice to have nice shoes, but most likely the person thinks, with those other shoes, my date's going to go better, right? It's a reframe. And, people can debate the details of this, but we're looking for
Absolutely.
solutions,
Yeah.
right? Solutions to pains, right? And often this has to do with status, it has to do with saving time, and it has to do with comfort, right? When I say status, this includes things like getting the career jump, right? Getting a higher raise, etc., right? Convenience is a big one, right? Why do people, pay extra, significantly extra for getting their food delivered? It's convenience, right? So you need to understand your audience's pain. It's not enough to be enthusiastic about that new idea that you have. If it doesn't kill the pain, ideally with a new angle, with a new approach that they haven't heard yet, you're going to have a harder time selling, right? Audience pain, right? Then you want to talk about the solution, right? And the solution you talk about in context, how's the life better without the way that that you propose? In a product sense, this can be, you can chill on your couch and your food's going to be delivered here, right? You can spend that valuable time, working or with your partner, etc. Right? This is value in itself, right? Or you don't have to, you just get up. This is another thing. People just feel lazy sometimes. In a coaching sense, consulting sense, it's a transformation, right? You know the pain. Where do people currently have a problem? Where do you take them? What's better, right? How much easier are they going to get clients? How much better are they going to look to their new employer or to their LinkedIn audience or to their YouTube audience, right? So it's a transformation where you're the mentor in between, right? So number one, pain. Number two, transformation or solution. And number three, if there's one thing that closes the deal, that really brings that really pushes you across, it's a real testimonial. It's somebody who's worked with you, somebody who's tried your product and says, I, with my face and my name, I was at point A with the pain. I am at point B with the solution. My life is so much better. My work is so much better. I stand for, having tried it.
Right.
And yes, it works. If you can do those three things, you're going to sell, incredibly well.
I absolutely love the precision with which you walked me through the entire three steps. That this is the pain, this is the offer, and then the testimonials. And if you do not have the testimonials, it's like what you're working on is not bringing results. Change the approach, change the offer, or maybe figure out something. And I love this phase. Like I've met so many coaches, and I've figured this thing out. A lot of people are amazing at scaling. Like a lot of people can help you scale your business. A lot of people can help you, like. You have an existing thing, make it better. But while you're making that thing, like it should that be a square, rectangle, triangle, and transform that hit and trial is so much of an individual process. And like a mentor can always guide you that maybe try this, try that, but that executing, that trying, that figuring out needs to be, it's like your personal struggle. So if someone says that I've nailed this down and this is how it helps people, they actually have after so much of trial and error. And that's why I believe entrepreneurship or kickstarting something that resonates with you is challenging, is because you are putting yourself up for constant every single day failure until and unless you hit that jackpot and you're like, oh, this is something this helps people and I am good at, and sync energy, and now let's get on to the next step of it.
Yeah, the best entrepreneurs are the people that run into problems and then find solutions and then sell the solution, right? It's not about creating another software company. It's about seeing that there's a missing link that's freaking annoying in the day-to-day of somebody, working with a software that doesn't have that feature or doesn't have that plugin or doesn't have that thing. And then saying, look, I'm going to build it because I know the frustration. And if I have the frustration and I ask 5 people and they confirm the frustration, let's check it out. Maybe there's 100. Oh, maybe there's 10,000. Oh my God, there's a business here, right? That frustration and then overcoming it is really what entrepreneurship is about, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Which brings me to an interesting segment that we usually do. It's called as 90 seconds to teach me something. So if right now I give you 90 seconds, what would you like to teach or talk about?
All right, so let's make this pretty applicable to most people. And you know that the limits that we put on ourselves are self-imposed. So how many times did you think you couldn't do something and then you figured out actually you could? And this shows that the subconscious really drives our entire life, because it's not necessarily the skill only, it's really your mindset around it. So this idea is super powerful. It's more powerful than we think. It's called the Rosenthal effect. Maybe you've heard about it in the terms Pygmalion Effect. And it really comes down to when you expect great things to happen, you unconsciously act in ways that make them happen. And this is one of those soft things that's hard to grab. And for the left-brain people amongst us, it's really hard to put down, but it's so powerful. And it really comes down to belief shapes behavior, right? If I believe something to be true, I will act more in ways that will go in that direction. So people handle you differently, right? So what does this mean concretely? If you move in a certain way, like you're destined to win, right? If you speak with conviction, or if you show up like, it's already yours, your job, your investment, your program, people feel that, right? Yes, some people will say fake it till you make it. It doesn't really have to be fake. It's about confidence. It's not about lying. It's about confidence. And that becomes a magnet, right? So the idea is be grounded in reality, but also be completely delusional about what's possible. So I thought I couldn't do a TED Talk in Spanish when my Spanish was basically elementary. And I did. So I thought I couldn't until I did. What is it that you think you can't? And then you suddenly do it.
Wow, that's amazing. And it's actually thought-provoking as well. Thank you so much for sharing this. It's like, and now I can realize so many people just want to think about problems. That, oh, if I do this, they self-intricate these problems. Like they want to do something, but then they would bring 10 other reasons to convince their mind why they shouldn't do it. But if they just flip the script, as you talked about the effect, and after flipping the script, okay, this is a problem, this is what a solution looks like. This is a problem, solution two. So now you, okay, have multiple reasons to do it. And when you know you would hit that rock bottom, some or the other way you will find a solution to it. It's because now your brain is operating in a way that I want to do this. This is just like another problem I got to solve in order to make that movement or keep the momentum going on.
Right. There's a thing that pisses people off a lot, especially women. And I wanna lay this out here because this is the Pygmalion Effect in action. Do you know this
Right.
thing? Do you know this thing where a person A, a man, has a certain qualification. A person B, a woman, has the same qualification, right? So you ask the
Correct.
guy, do you think you can do this thing ABC? And the guy's like, sure, no problem, I'll get it done. Whether they can or they can't, really, right? And then you ask the same question to the lady, and oftentimes, most often actually, the woman is more realistic, and it's like, yeah, maybe if I approach it in this way, and there's just a tendency between the sexes, and the woman is more realistic and often maybe undersells herself. This is happening all the time. And what happens? The guy gets picked. Now that doesn't mean the guy gets it done well, right? If anything, it might actually mean the guy doesn't get it done well and the woman would have done it better, right? But this is a bit generalizing, but I see it happen all the time when I talk to people about it, guys and girls. They confirm it all the time, and this pisses people off. But it's human behavior, right? And the results are clear, right? So opportunities are given to the people, that go out and embody that they can do it, right? So the line is very thin between faking it and believing in yourself. It's about it's in you to really be mindful about it. But my
Yeah.
message here is that confidence counts.
Oh, absolutely. And it is like that, like I attended all these events and I figured out that as you talked about moving places, at some point in time, it's genuinely so important to make that move, go to a different place, a different environment altogether, and then put yourself out constantly, meet different people, figure things out. I mean, even if there would be a day when you're like, I just don't want to make a move, I just want to sit and just not do it. When you do it, you do not know what happens. Like I went to this event, I met this wonderful woman. I was speaking about small business and coaching, and she said, okay, wait, after 10 minutes into our conversation, she brings this wonderful book. It's called Traction. It talks about the EOS implementation system. I'm not sure if, I hope you would have heard about it. So the
Not yet.
entire, it's a great book. It talks
Love to read
about
it.
6 stages to how to actually build a system-based business wherein you're not trading time for your outcomes. And she just said that you don't need a coach right now. You just need this book. This is my book. Take it, read it. That's all you need. And I'm just looking at her and I was like, if I wouldn't have come to this place, I wouldn't have met her. And probably she wouldn't have introduced me to this beautiful concept of how can I actually systemize something in a better way. And that's why it's so important. Even if you are selectively extrovert, it just makes
Mm-hmm.
sense.
100%. I have so many stories of exactly this happening, right? I put myself out there and great things happen. It really comes down to being a yes person, right? And doing it anyways, right? I have this thing I've recently contemplated a lot, which is, Nike says just do it. It's not about the just do it, because at the point of just do it, there's no resistance, or at least not as much resistance. I want to rephrase that to do it anyways. So in the moment of resistance, as long as you know that the thing you are resisting is good, right? You
Right.
should do it. The frog, eat the frog. Do it anyways, right? The just
Yeah.
do it is kind of like, just get it done. Just do it. Do it anyways is beating the resistance, right? And that's where the opportunity lies.
That is actually insightful, and it's more of like the discipline and consistency. Like the motivation might die out, but every single day, if you've chosen to work on this, just put in the work. And to get to this, there's an interesting segment. It's called 7 Questions to Fame. And once you're ready, I'll be throwing these 7 rapid fire questions at you.
Go ahead. I'm ready.
Okay. So, what has been one learning or like one concept that changed the way how you interact with people or interact with your business?
Being a learn-it-all versus a know-it-all. I think the earlier you are in your career, most people try to be the know-it-all in order to convince others that they got it. Most people who've gotten somewhere realize learning never stops. Maybe also they don't need to impress people that much, but really they embody more the learn-it-all. I had to realize that. I try to prove to anyone how badass I was in my 20s. Learn-it-all is the real powerful one.
I really like that, and I think it would help me personally as well to figure it out. Yeah, you gotta learn it all, not just be like, yeah. I think instead of proving, just get the work done. It's like build, don't talk about it.
Yeah, exactly.
I
I've
really
just
like that.
onboarded some people for a program I'm running, and the most impressive profile person said the most understatement intro. Isn't that curious? So
Yeah.
C-level at a major software company, right? Like actually one of the most valuable companies in the world. And she enters the room, the group cohort call, and she goes something very understatement as an intro. And I'm like, wow. See, this is power.
I genuinely love that space, and it's more about the humility. I think also that one develops with time because they know that they've done it all. Instead of talking, they'll be like talk in a normal way, and then once you see this has been done, you're like, oh my god, I didn't think you could do it, and they were like, I did do it once or twice. So I think
Yeah.
that comes with once you've like cracked some crazy stuff out there.
And most people know that a large chunk of success is luck anyways, right? While as you're getting into your career trajectory, you don't want this to be true. You want people to realize that you did it all, your hard work, your ingenuity, whatever. And then the more you progress, you realize a large chunk of success really is luck. And any successful entrepreneur will tell you timing, lucky, being in the right place, etc., is a major part.
Absolutely. And the second question goes like, if you had to change one thing about the perspectives that you see in people, what is that one thing you'd like to change in them?
I'd love for more people in the world to wear goggles of love. Whether that means give people the benefit of the doubt, or just be kind.
Wow, that's beautiful. 3 books that you recommend one should read.
Robert Cialdini, The Power of Persuasion. I found that book when I was, I think, 16.
Oh.
And I reread it, I don't know how many times, 4 times maybe. It is power. It's timeless. It's about how people can persuade you to do things. So kind of like the evil way of persuasion, but also, all the systems behind how to protect yourself from that and understand how people manipulate, right? And then in between is the space where you can better communicate without manipulation. Power. What do you think? Oh, I recently read one that I really thought was a great read, and that is Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey, the actor. And it's
Yeah.
good because it's just the idea of the green lights, right? You doing some things in life that just turn the lights green, right? I like the perspective, and I resonated with a lot of it because it's not that you do more, it's that you reflect and do the right things, and suddenly you realize how balanced, I don't want to say balanced, how alive your life is. That's a really cool idea. And another one is Factfulness by Hans Rosling. This one's a big one as well. Pretty sure it made the bestseller lists. And it's really about how the world's much better than we think. And if we look at the facts, we can see that we've come a long way. And to hold two ideas at the same time in our mind, which is something can be not good yet, but better than before, right? So we're on the trajectory of improvement. Yes, we have work to do. Yes, there's not full equality between men and women. Yes, there's still malaria. Yes, there's still cancer. There's still child mortality and poverty. But in all of these dimensions, literally every single one, we've made tremendous breakthroughs. And yeah, it's good to know that, because otherwise people are always surrounded by this negativity, and maybe they lose the interest in actually working towards betterment.
That's actually amazing. Thank you for sharing these. I have read the first one. Cialdini became my favorite, and I was like, and when now I indulge in some conversations, I was like, I know what you're doing, okay? So you can't do that to me because I know what you're doing. So I really feel that books can impact you and give you perspective that sometimes, since you may not have access to the right kind of people, have books. You have right access to the right kind of people. So thank you for sharing the 3 picks. I'm going to buy the other 2 and put them on my next reading list as well.
Wonderful.
And if you had to talk about one major experience while you were interacting with a global audience, what would that be? Like, how does that, like, one interesting interaction that you had with someone who was not from the same culture as you?
So it's about something I learned from someone who's from a different culture.
Yes.
I'm writing a new book, and that book is not a management book like my previous 3, but it's a book called Alive. And the subtitle is 20 outrageous stories from my 20s I promised never to tell anyone. And it's really the stories that shape me. You talk about, being global, being a nomad, being, learning from soaking up the world, right? Shaping your character and your professional life through that. And it's sometimes the most subtle, small stories, moments, encounters that have the biggest effect. I was in Bosnia-Herzegovina, in the Balkans, small country, came out of war 15 years ago. Crazy civil war. By the way, side note, some of the places that just came out of war recently have the most heartwarming societies and stories and hospitality. I strongly believe that. And I think I can base this on more than a dozen places. Having said this, I'm walking down the street in the capital, and I see this guy in his early 50s, and he's casually leaning against this Lada, old Soviet car. He's leaning there, and I walk past and I look at him. He gives me a smile. And he goes, in his language, he just kind of nudges me. And I say, no idea what you're saying. And he's like, in his broken English, he's like, come, sit with me. And he had a Sprite bottle with his self-made wine. So he had made wine himself. He filled it in
Wow.
these Coca-Cola and Sprite bottles. And he's sitting there with this little glass, right? He has a Sprite bottled wine, but he has a proper glass in his hand. He had a second one sitting there. And he invites me for a wine. And we basically can't talk to each other, but we do through all kinds of nonverbal and verbal fragments of communication. And we sip wine together. And I realized hospitality is one of the most powerful things that a human can give another human. And of course, I enjoyed that wine more than most wines I've ever had in my life. Was the wine great? I don't remember. Maybe not. Probably not. Was the moment unforgettable? Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably until I die.
It's amazing to hear those spaces because these are the moments which are imprinted in you forever. Is because you're so present in that moment, and the person is also as invested as you are. And the energy that is created around you makes it so unforgettable. And even if you do not have those moments recorded in a phone, sometimes you feel that I wish I had that. But then that moment being imprinted in your brain is so much more important than having the same note in your camera as a video.
100%. Besides the fact that this was before we would pull out an iPhone and record it all.
But then that makes a lot of sense. And then the one thing would be, what has been one thing that you fear the most?
For a long time, and this is part of my journey, imposter syndrome has been a big part of my life, right? Showing up and my mind saying, you don't have it. There's somebody out there who knows more about this topic. There's somebody who can say it better, who can take the audience with more, captivating words. And I realized as part of the journey, I realized the more I talk to people, the more most people feel like that. But showing up authentically and doing your best in every moment rather than beating yourself up, and again, the opposite of the Pygmalion effect that we talked earlier, right? Your critical mind jumping in and hijacking you really from success. That difference in there, that's where all the power lies. So I want to say I'm still on a journey very much, but that would be a big one.
I'm glad you shared this. And the next question would be, what is the legacy that you would like to leave the world with?
Power. Nice one. If one person feels enabled, empowered, elevated by the time I go, I'm happy. If a million do, better. But I've stopped really, going for that marketing, impact a million lives. Great. Let's do it. Let's really do it. But the amount of that and the superficiality of that is unbelievable, right? Yes, we want to clean the oceans and make everybody aware of it. Yes, of course, I want my program to touch 1 million people. But what aspect of it really does? And what aspect in combination with other people's input really does? Nobody will ever be able to measure it, right? Am I the one convincing you to separate your trash, or am I just giving the last piece of advice after a chain of insightful people already nudging you? Nobody will ever be able to measure this, right? So
Right.
for me, what counts is the feeling I have towards my 11th grade history teacher, Mr. Jackson.
Right.
That is that feeling. I will always remember this guy. He's really
Yeah.
made a shift in my life. And if I can be the Mr. Jackson to one person, enough.
I really admire this thought process. And I think the work that you've been doing, helping people and now teaching different frameworks so that they can actually become the speaker or they own their own lives, like, they feel confident presenting themselves. I think it's wonderful that you're like doing all of that. And the last question to this would be one quote or one sentence that changed your perspective in life and made you do things.
Hmm. Hmm. When I visited my grandfather's house, he passed away years ago. He always said something upon us leaving, my brothers, my family, my parents, or I. When we left the house to say goodbye, he always said the same thing: be joyfully diligent. And in that is a lot of power, because it was his whole philosophy that if you're diligent, if you're hardworking, if you're focused, that's one side that's going to get you far, right? But it's worth nothing if you don't enjoy it. The reverse is also true. But if you combine the two, you got a pretty awesome life.
If I process it, this is so impactful just as a sentence. It's because you really need to see through it all. And I'm so glad that you've shared this right now. And I would like sit with myself after this and absorb this as well so that I get the most understanding of this. So I love how you shared this. And there's so much I think we have to tap on, learn from you. And I know that this is the first episode in the series. Is there anything else that you would like to share before we part ways?
Just your gratitude, just my gratitude for you, rather. Yeah, for creating the space, for helping hopefully one or many people to get a new perspective, enrich their lives. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for recording this, and I'm so glad that we could share this space and much grateful for this.
Thank you.